New nuclear talks between U.S. and Iran begins in Geneva. U.S. civil rights leader Jesse Jackson died at the age of 84. Tariq Rahman sworn in as new Bangladesh Prime Minister. And UK to issue electronic visas to Nigerians from February 2026. Good afternoon and welcome to the World in 30 Minutes on Politics and Business Television. I am Omike Joseph Matthew. Many thanks for joining us. Details of these news stories and more are coming your way right after this break. The United States civil rights leader, Reverend Jesse Jackson, has died peacefully at the age of 84, according to his family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and human rights helped shape a global movement for freedom and dignity, his family said in a statement. A close associate of civil rights icon Martin Luther King Jr., the Baptist minister twice won for the Democratic presidential nomination. He spent decades advocating for the rights of Black Americans and other minorities, dating back to the tumultuous 1960s civil rights movement. He first entered the public eye as Martin Luther King's mentee and was with Martin Luther King when he was assassinated at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee in 1968. In a 2008 media interview, Jackson said Martin Luther King's slaying traumatized him and blamed the U.S. government. A second round of talks between Iran and the United States aimed at resolving their disputes over Tehran's nuclear program have begun in the Swiss city of Geneva. The indirect discussions follow repeated military threats against Iran over the country's deadly crackdown on anti-government protests and over its nuclear activities. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One ahead of the latest talks, U.S. President Donald Trump said have begun in the Swiss city of Geneva. The indirect discussions follow repeated military threats against Iran over the country's deadly crackdown on anti-government protests and over its nuclear activities. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One ahead of the latest talks, U.S. President Donald Trump said he believed Iran wanted to make a deal. The foreign ministry in Tehran, meanwhile, said it believes that the U.S. position on the nuclear issue had moved towards a more realistic one. Iran says Tuesday's meeting, mediated by Oman, will focus on its nuclear program and the potential lift of economic sanctions imposed by the U.S. Washington has previously indicated it wants to discuss other issues as well, such as Iran's missile development. Framing the talks as very important, Trump said he would be indirectly involved and suggested Tehran was motivated this time to negotiate. Hillary Clinton has accused U.S. President Donald Trump's administration of a cover-up over its handling of files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The White House insisted that by releasing the files, they had done more for the victims than Democrats ever have. Millions of new files relating to the late sex offender Epstein were released by the U.S. Department of Justice earlier this month. At the time, the Deputy Attorney General said 3 million pages were not released due to the existence of personal medical files, graphic depictions of child abuse, and other materials that would jeopardize investigations. When asked whether Andrew Mudbolton-Windsor should go before a congressional committee, Hillary Clinton said, "I think everybody should testify who is asked to testify. Appearing in the files is not an indication of wrongdoing. Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing. The committee does not have the power to compel him to appear in front of them, but put pressure on the Clintons to do so, which they agreed to last month." Bill Clinton will make his appearance on the 27th of February, and Hillary Clinton will appear the day before. And to the Middle East now, Hamas has rejected remarks by an Israeli government official calling for Gaza-based groups to disarm in 60 days and threatening to resume Israel's genocidal war if it fails to comply. A senior Hamas official, Mahmoud Moldawi, has said on Monday that he had no knowledge of such demand. Al-Dawi's comments comes after Israeli Cabinet Secretary Yossi Foch, during a conference in Jerusalem on Monday, threatened to renew the genocidal war on Gaza if Hamas failed to disarm in 60 days. Local media outlet The Times of Israel reported. A top aide to Netanyahu, Foch, claimed that the 2-month period was requested by the United States administration. We are respecting that, he said. Without confirming when the ultimatum will exactly start, Foch said it might begin with the February 19 meeting of U.S. President Donald Trump's Board of Peace, a Washington-backed plan for the reconstruction of Gaza. Earlier this month, Hamas political leader abroad, Khalid Michel, rejected calls to disarm Palestinian factions in Gaza, arguing that stripping weapons from an occupied people would turn them into an easy victim to be eliminated. Meanwhile, current and former United Nations staffers have spoken out in defense of Francisca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories, after she faced attacks from a pro-Israeli NGO and several European government officials. Albanese, who, like all special rapporteur, is appointed by the UN Human Rights Council but is not a UN staff member, has been subjected to repeated attacks from pro-Israeli figures and bodies, with one of the most fervent critics being UN Watch, a pro-Israeli NGO. The UN Watch, which is not a UN body, spread an edited clip of Albanese speaking at Al Jazeera forum earlier this month, in which the NGO falsely said she had called Israel the common enemy of humanity. Albanese's actual words were, "We now see that we as a humanity have a common enemy, and the respect of fundamental freedom is the last peaceful avenue, the last peaceful toolbox that we have to regain our freedom." The NGO's clip grabbed the attention of European officials, including those from Australia, Czech Republic, France, Germany, and of course Italy. France Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot went as far as saying he would demand her resignation on February 23, when the next session of the UN Human Rights Council is held. On February 9, a group of French MPs sent Barrot a letter denouncing Albanese and calling her remarks anti-Semitic. 2 days later, Barrot called for Albanese to resign. The spokesperson for the French Foreign Ministry published a thread on social media on Saturday denying Barrot's call for Albanese to resign. We are connected to edited video. You're still watching The World in 30 Minutes live on Politics and Business Television. Still to come, Tariq Rahman sworn in as new Bangladesh Prime Minister. Do stay with us for this story. You're welcome back. Tariq Rahman has been sworn in as the new prime minister days after his party swept the first vote since the 2024 student-led uprising that expelled the then leader Sheikh Hasina. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party, PNP, secured more than a two-thirds majority in last week's election. Earlier, inside the parliament's oath room, lawmakers pledged loyalty to Bangladesh as they were sworn in by Chief Election Commissioner AMM Nasir Uddin. Foreign dignitaries, including the Pakistani Foreign Minister and the Speaker of the Indian Parliament, were in attendance. Cabinet members were also slated to be sworn in on Tuesday. Despite tight security, hundreds of people gathered outside the grounds throughout the day, awaiting the proceedings. PNP and its allies won at least 212 seats. Elections were held in 299 constituencies in the 350-seat parliament, giving it a strong majority, while the Jamaat el-Islami and its allies won 77 seats. Hasina's Awami League was banned from participating. Rahman is taking over from an interim government that led the country for 18 months after Hasina's ousting. He will also be tasked with implementing the July National Charter, which contains 80-plus prospective reforms of Bangladesh's governance system. And back to the US President Donald Trump has said he will soon decide whether to approve additional arms sales to Taiwan, following a stern warning from Chinese President Xi Jinping. During a phone call on February 4, Xi urged mutual respect in US-China relations and cautioned Washington against further military support for the self-governed island. According to China's state broadcaster, Xi described the Taiwan issue as the most sensitive matter in bilateral ties and stressed that the United States must handle arms sales to Taiwan with caution. The two leaders are expected to meet in Beijing in April. Although China's Communist Party has never governed Taiwan, Beijing considers the island of 23 million people part of its territory and has not ruled out the use of force to bring it under its control. While Washington does not formally recognize Taiwan as a country, it remains the island's principal military supporter. In December, the United States approved $11 billion worth of arms sales to Taipei, prompting China to launch large-scale live-fire drills, simulating a blockade of Taiwan's major ports. Despite Trump's reportedly softer tone on Taiwan in his second term, the issue continues to strain U.S.-China relations. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference in Germany, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi warned the United States against plotting to divide China through Taiwan, saying such actions could cross Beijing's red line and lead to confrontation. Meanwhile, Taiwan has invested heavily in strengthening its military over the past decade, but faces mounting pressure from Washington to further boost its defense capabilities against China. The Pretoria Magistrate Court has remanded 3 suspects in custody over the murder of a Nigerian student and e-hailing driver, Isaac Satlat. According to local media outlets ENCA, the suspects appeared in court on Monday and will remain in custody until February 23 as investigations continue. The trio faces charges of murder and carjacking. Satlat, a 22-year-old mobile engineering student, was reportedly killed on February 11 after picking up passengers who had requested his e-hailing service. Dashboard camera footage circulating on social media allegedly shows the passengers strangling him to death. The South African media outlet reported that Impella voluntarily handed herself over to police on Friday, while Machidi and Mushwana were arrested over the weekend. All 3 declined to file a bail application. A 4th suspect reportedly surrendered to police in Archerville on Monday and is expected to be arraigned before the Pretoria Magistrate Court on Tuesday, also facing charges of carjacking and murder. Meanwhile, a group of protesters comprising members of e-hailing associations and civil society organizations gathered outside the court demanding justice of Satlat. The demonstrators described him as a kind and respected member of the community. Reacting to the developments, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission commended the South African public for their solidarity. The commission said it was closely monitoring proceedings to ensure transparency and justice for Satlat's family and the Nigerian community. The United Kingdom says all new UK visit visas for Nigerian travelers will be issued digitally from February 25, 2026, marking a major step in modernizing its visa process. This was disclosed in a statement on Monday by the British High Commission in Abuja. According to the statement, the UK said that from the effective date, Nigerian applicants will receive an electronic visa instead of the traditional vignette sticker in their passports. It explained that under the new policy, travelers will access their visa electronically through their UK visas and immigration accounts, marking a significant step in modernizing the UK's visa process. The digital visa system is expected to deliver multiple benefits, including faster passport return, easier management of immigration status online, and stronger security since e-visas cannot be lost, stolen, or tampered with. Applicants will need to create a free UKVI account to access their e-visa. And that wraps up the program. But before we go, the headlines once more. New nuclear talks between the US and Iran begin in Geneva. US civil rights leader Jesse Jackson dies at the age of 84. Tariq Rahman sworn in as new Bangladesh Prime Minister. And we also told you that UK to issue electronic visas to Nigerians from February 2026. On behalf of the team, I am Omike Joseph Matthew. Do have a lovely day. Bye for now.